My name is Piotr Szyhalski, and I am an artist, born in Poland, living in United States. I've been an artist my entire life, but I also teach. I teach art at Minneapolis College of Art and Design. I work with a variety of media as an artist, so the practice is rather wild, ranging from working on performances, large-scale installations, sound, digital media. But then, as a kind of core of that practice, there's always working with your hands and drawing and painting. When the pandemic started, I realized that as an artist, I had an opportunity to study an extreme historical phenomenon as it was happening. I ended up making this project with just ink, brush, and paper because those were the materials I happened to have in our home during the early days of lockdown. And it was really no different from me back in Poland in the 80s, making an ink, brush, paper drawing, because those were the only materials I had, period. Yeah, very quickly a kind of a ritual developed. I would just come down right here and sit at this desk behind me and start sketching. And then I would sketch it out on the larger sheet of paper, proceed with inking, photograph it with my daughter Ava, who held each one of those drawings for the photograph on the porch of our house, post it on Instagram, sometimes on Facebook, and then spend most of the day really engaging with folks who are connecting with the projects. As with so many connections, oftentimes strangers reaching out to me that facilitated the report project. I did, receive an email from Knight Institute, and with the question or inquiry about potentially becoming part of this year's program focusing on lies and the law. And I was immediately inspired and interested. The understanding of lies as a very present phenomenon in our experience of 2020, realizing the corrosive and deeply disturbing impact of lies, manipulation, deception, disinformation in that period of time, felt like a very natural sort of extension of the report project. I arrived at poster design as the best visual language to parse the issues and the complexities of 2020. And that the same criteria apply to this kind of unpacking of the role and dynamic of lies in our today's experience. We think of posters in many ways as political devices. For many people, posters are almost synonymous with propaganda, with the politics. So when I reach for the language of posters, I understand that it comes with the layers of historical meanings, its historical baggage and the context that informs how we see these images. That image of a ladder in a kind of a hole or an opening, it is what I love about poster as a language, because there's something super immediate about that image. You understand exactly what's happening instantaneously. But then the second you acknowledge that, you kind of have to orient yourself. Is the ladder allowing somebody to come out of the hole, or is the ladder allowing somebody to go into the hole? I love the fact that you can find yourself in that paradoxical spot, oscillating between the opposites, as a result of looking at a very simple image. And I think lies occupies similar space. We often think about lies as something that somebody else does. We don't tell lies. They do. While the ladder in the hall has such a minimal aesthetic, the lies and counter speech is sort of on the other end of the spectrum. And then the additional layer of drama in this drawing is the fact that there is this hint at maybe a light or a sun that offers a protective layer to that idyllic landscape, and that is the counter speech. It's such a crazy, binary, impossible world that is in this image. It is sort of an impossible scenario. And the doubt creeps in too. Like, is this really the protection that we need? Is that how we ought to deal with the phenomenon of lie? I don't know. I love the fact that it asks more questions than offer answers, because I certainly don't find myself in a position to have those answers. The language of propaganda is often a black and white language, right? So the idea that the world is painted as a black and white scenario is sort of embedded in that very concept. And it's interesting to me, even though my objectives aren't really to portray the world as black and white, but rather to acknowledge the shades of gray separating the two, right? To expand that space in between those binary orientations of truth and lie, and trying to figure out how we exist in that space. I really feel that artists do carry a lot of power in and through their work, and with that comes a kind of responsibility in thinking about how what we do contributes to our culture, to our collective identity.